All right, let's jump into case study number one. And this is the two fearful words of any B2B marketer: channel conflict. It's the nice way of saying, hey, we know where our bread is buttered. I don't know, is that the expression? But
Yeah,
but
that'll
we
work.
want to do something else. We don't want to upset anyone, but we still want to grow our business. So that's the essence of this case study. So go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, Steve. Well, it's interesting because there's an enormous fear of channel conflict, as you mentioned, particularly amongst branded manufacturers, right? For many, many years, these companies have gotten their bread and butter, as you say, from, traditional distribution, from retailers they sell to, from distributors or dealers. They stock the product and resell it. And that model is still very viable, but it's also changed. And manufacturers these days have a mandate to be thinking about, well, how that end customer is really needing their product, wanting to learn about their product and buy the product. So, we worked with a commercial lawnmower manufacturer. This is a company that makes, they make products that are used to cut enormous lawns. You've seen these things. They go 35 miles an hour over the lawn, and there's zero turns. They spin them and they spin around really fast, and they really efficiently cut lawns. And so this is a global company. A lot of their market is here in the US and North America. And they have dealers and distributors all over the US in particular, but also the world. And so thinking about the management, family owned business, management's thinking about they know these things are happening in digital. They know that customers want to buy on e-commerce channels like Amazon and other places, but they're also, 98% of their revenue is coming from these traditional dealers. So how does a company like that is, I don't want to say beholden, but really has traditionally worked through a traditional sales force and marketed to these folks and sold to these folks, and the dealer is really the one that the relationship with the end customer. How do they enable, e-commerce? How do they embrace digital for the business while also, maintaining those relationships and deepening those relationships? They were terrified of channel conflict.
Yeah.
Right? The instant that, go over here, they're not the only company that makes these things. There's other big manufacturers out there that make these lawnmowers. So the way they started, which is really fascinating, they started with Amazon. They said, well, number one, we don't have any real technology tools or knowledge or organizational muscle to get into this business and understand how to market to customers, how to reach these customers through search engines, how to sell through e-commerce and digital channels. So the reason they started with Amazon, number one, so you got this next generation, right? The third generation coming in. The folks are all, Amazon shoppers, they're e-commerce people. They understand it natively because they grew up with it. Well, they said, let's start with Amazon because it'll help us make a case to the family, the older generations of the family,
Yeah.
that people actually will buy our products this way. And the traffic was already there on Amazon. The structure is there on Amazon too. The infrastructure is in place, the buying infrastructure, Prime and all these things. They could use Amazon's fulfillment centers, using Fulfilled by Amazon to fulfill the orders. And they launched this program. Now, they were nervous again about channel conflict. So they went slowly. They started with accessories and parts. And what they found was when they launched, they started to see orders come in, and they looked at where those orders were coming from. And the fascinating thing they found is that most of these orders were places that were more than 70 miles away from any dealer location.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. Makes
yeah,
sense.
so all incremental sales. They got 2.5 years into this. They have zero complaints from their dealers. In fact, their dealers' e-commerce sales went up in part because Amazon, they improved their presence on Amazon. Well, most folks don't realize it, but Amazon is a search engine. It gets 70% of product search now. So at the end of the day, they're improving their presence in the market, and it lifted their dealers' sales. Guess what? No complaints. And now they're launching direct e-commerce. Now they're going to be selling directly to end buyers and to their distributors and dealers through e-commerce, through a B2B e-commerce site. The third generation came in, he convinced the earlier generations, the CEO and the other C-levels that, this is something that's real. We can sell our products this way, and it's not going to completely disrupt our channel.
Yeah. So
So
it's interesting. So one of my clients a long time ago was not in this space, but a large B2B manufacturer, relied heavily on distribution dealer network. And it's so funny because they had a similar approach. They're like, well, maybe we just start with some parts and accessories. It's always the low price point, non-threatening products. And then comes the real question, right? Which is okay, your big ticket item, are you going to do it? So help us understand, like, how did they make that decision to say, we're going after it, we're going to go after the big ticket stuff?
well, it was a crawl, walk, run, right? So it was understanding what they did was they incrementally added more product. So they started with, again, the low price, as you mentioned, the parts, the They added then accessories, which were, the components, the other things that you could add to the mowers. And now it's a matter of, now they realize that people will buy these larger items online, and they're not concerned as they were about the, disintermediating the traditional dealer. What they've come to realize, Steve, is that the dealer and the distributor plays a different role. If the dealer and distributor really is adding value to that end customer, they're going to be able to still capture that sale, because guess what? It's about service. It's about
Hmm.
recommendations about how you utilize those products in the field, literally in the field. And that, if the distributor and the dealer are truly adding that kind of value, they're not going to lose the sale to any other kind of, to the other types of
Yep.
e-commerce transactions. Because let's be honest, Amazon and e-commerce, they play, when you need the product quickly in short order and typically in small quantities, or even, want to place an order for convenience because you already know what you want, even if it's a large high ticket item, they're going to place that order on e-commerce, and they don't need a sales rep, they don't need a dealer, they don't need the consultative aspects. But if you're a distributor or dealer sitting out there and all you're doing is price and assortment, you're low price, and you're just making the product available. Guess what? E-commerce does that better. Marketplaces, Amazon, they'll do that better than you potentially. You've got to find a different way to differentiate if that's your
Yep.
business model, in my opinion.
Any issues with this company experiencing showrooming? So showrooming is where essentially, I go into the showroom because I want to kick the tires on something. I get educated by the sales force, and then I go, all right, I'm good. I leave. I buy it online. Anything like that happen?
Not anything measurably. You can't assume that every sale in e-commerce or to Amazon or through Amazon is incremental, because it's not. There is some channel shift, but again, not getting in the way of the customer is really, the goal of the smart manufacturer. In my experience and what this company experienced, I would say actually, though, quite the opposite. What's fascinating about this too, Steve, is that when a company sells through Amazon, if they take the right approach, number one, they can manage the pricing, so it's not a race to the bottom on price. But also, if you take the seller central approach on Amazon, you can actually understand where those orders are going. You can actually get more information from an Amazon program than you can through a typical distribution or dealer channel. So guess what? When a customer buys something on Amazon, if it's shipped from the manufacturer to that end customer, they know exactly where it's going. And the dealer that's in that market, who provides service, aftermarket service on this equipment, and this equipment stays in the field for 20 years, right? So there's a significant amount of service business attached to these lawnmowers. Well, that dealer, even though it was bought on Amazon, can now knows that product is in that market, and they can provide that service. Amazon is not providing service on lawnmowers,
Mhm.
right? So this is a so the point is that, by getting out of the way of the end customer, let the customer buy where they want to buy. I have another client that said, I think one of the smartest things I've heard is, we want to just be where the customer is, whether that's on Amazon, in the dealer channel, in Home Depot, in Lowe's, and whatever channel they're in. We want to get out of the way of that customer and present our brand the best way we can, and all of our differentiation points. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate customer, in our opinion, has the power. And I agree with them. They now have the
Yep.
ability. They have so many channels they can buy from. This is transparency coming to B2B. It came to B2C a long time ago. It's now here in B2B. So it's
Yeah.
interesting, the dynamic.